You're listening to Weeknight Wizards.
Good evening, and welcome to Weeknight Wizards. I'm Michael, your host and friendly neighborhood game master. We're going to do something a little different tonight. We're going to be doing some world building for our next campaign using 13th Age. We're getting excited and ready for 13th Age 2nd edition. It's on Kickstarter right now. I would say check out the description for a link, but I don't have one on hand. So you can Google it. Joining us is our usual cast of clowns, and I will have them introduce themselves, but I need them to tell me a very important question, and it is, what is your favorite board game or current favorite board game? Because I am looking to refresh my board game collection, and I need ideas. Or maybe, alternately, a game you really want to play, because that's also of interest to me. This is purely selfish.
I dig it.
I can go first.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Gregory. Well, my favorite social game always is Coup, which is just a fantastic.
God, Greg, that's my favorite game ever.
Is it really?
I love Coup.
Oh yeah, it's the best.
Oh my god!
I've written a fan fiction of Coup, technically.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah!
I've outlined. I haven't written it yet.
But if I'm talking what's my favorite board game right now, I really like Root. I've been playing it more and more with friends. The way that it works is that you play as 4 different animal tribes in a forest, and you play asynchronously. So every you go in turn order, I guess, but every animal has its own player mat with its own moveset and its own goals. And you're trying to take over the forest together. And the reason that it's been so fun is that I am currently 4 out of 4 for having played every faction once and won every time. So it's currently my undefeated game. So come at me, bro. Yeah. But it's really chibi art, really cute, great game, great digital version as well on Steam.
Nice.
Go ahead. Okay, I can go next.
Well, before you go, let me interrupt you.
wait.
Go ahead.
I think that we should do it the way Greg did, Joe. Favorite social game and favorite crunchy board game.
Yeah, I like that. I have amended my game question.
I have amended your question.
Okay. Well, my name is Joe. Does it have to be a board game for social game? Because
no,
Coup is a card game.
Yeah. Sure. Well, right now my favorite social game is playing a lot of frisbee golf.
All right. Well, you really thought outside the box on that one, but that is fun.
So Michael, when you're furnishing your apartment, be sure to get Frolf discs.
Think about frisbee golf. I bet there's a lot of courses around you where you are right now.
New York City. Every corner in New York City is a Frolf hole if you try hard enough.
That's true. Yeah, I haven't been playing a lot of social games right now because I've been trying to get outside, touch grass. But my favorite game that I'm playing right now is Riichi Mahjong. So if you want to pick up a Riichi Mahjong set, you should
check out the link in the description.
Amazon.
We should in every single episode just have a link to what are the things that streamers will do where it's a link to an Amazon or something.
It's a
you get a little tip
sponsored
jar.
Amazon post.
Yeah, but we should only have it for a Riichi Mahjong set. Nothing else.
That's very good.
I wonder, we could probably get Mahjong Soul to sponsor us. I'd do a stream.
I know you would, and it would be banned. It would be
Mahjong Soul's
then
on
we would
Twitch
have
all
the
the time.
we'd have the people who make Mahjong Soul watch that stream and be like, these guys are all bad at this game.
I'll have you know, I'm on a 5-game win streak right now.
Wow.
First places.
Nice work.
Thank
That's
you.
impressive.
I'm almost out of Adept, I think, is the second rank.
That means nothing to me. Hi, I'm Anthony. My favorite social game right now is called Wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
It is have you played, Michael?
Didn't I play with you? Isn't that the one Melissa ruined?
No, that's that sound game.
Oh, okay.
Wavelength, you're playing on teams and you're trying to like soul read the other team.
Mm.
It's very fun. You just sort of like you tune into the vibe and you win. It's a lot of fun. My favorite like crunchy board game right now is probably Gaia Project. It's very crunchy, but I've been playing it on Steam, and I'm very bad at it on Steam, but I'm very good at it in real life. I don't know what that says about me and the people I play Gaia Project with.
Interesting.
I think I've played that one with you, and I was also terrible at it.
No comment.
Well, I should talk. My social board game. I have a lot. I think my one that always comes to mind that I really enjoy is one called Deception Murder in Hong Kong. It's my favorite of the like werewolf style games. Because so one person's a murderer and there's a clue giver who knows who the murderer is, and the only way you can communicate though is you have like a bunch of like boards in front of you that represent like the crime scene, like it facts about it, and you have to place a bullet on like the most salient like of the list of words on this weird board. You have to place a bullet on it that will somehow steer them the players to identify a person at the table who has like the specific kind of murder weapon. You have a bunch of like evidence out in front of you as a player. It's really wild. It's kind of like Mysterium, but werewolf, and like gritty noir cop themes. It's a lot of fun. And Crunchy board game, one that I want to play, that I have here actually, is John just got The Thing, the board game, and I want to play it so bad because it is a cooperative game of you trying to survive in the Arctic laboratory, as is seen in The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing. But one of you starts as The Thing and is trying to sabotage the mission. So I'm like, I love a cooperative game. I love it with a saboteur role. It is also very much in the vein of another game John has right here, which is Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is my absolute probably favorite board game, even though it's not fun.
You said
It's not.
you said John Carpenter's The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the way that Greg would introduce every one of our sessions of Blades, I was like, that was the same guy?
John Harper is The Thing. John Carpenter's Blades in the Dark is such a different game.
So is probably John Harper's The Thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We should play Among Us as this group.
Oh my god,
Should
I
we?
would.
I've never played.
Is it 2018?
Is also 2020.
Yeah, 2020 is when I
It was
played
a big
Among Us.
COVID game.
Yeah, that's when I played it. And now that and what's the? Oh, yep. Look who's coming. They can't see on the stream because we don't
Hi,
do that.
John.
But John's here
Congratulations.
in my stream.
He can't hear us.
They say hi, John. Here,
I say congratulations.
on our apartment.
Oh,
So we're gonna be moving.
Oh, I was
Oh,
talking
law
about,
school.
about John's law
yeah.
school
More
thing.
importantly,
that's
I forgot. No, man.
You're great.
Also, the
Well,
apartment.
I shared
yes.
that news. I didn't share the graduation news, but it was implied, I suppose.
Ugh. How's everybody doing?
Good. What was for dinner?
What?
What was for dinner? Oh, he's got headphones in, so he can't even listen to my headphones.
Oh, hold on.
This is very intimate.
Oh, I'm tucked in. Say it again.
What was for dinner?
We had pizza and a Brussels sprout salad.
New York
Hey,
style?
a New York
No, it's
slice.
Detroit style pizza,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
Wow, way to ruin the moment, Joe.
New York
That's the only
giraffe.
thing I'm good at, apparently.
Oh, that's a fancy looking board.
Yes, we threw this together very quickly from a
Nice.
spreadsheet.
Oh, that's the Miro thing
Miro
that you were
thing.
talking about.
Yeah, we'll see if it works.
All right. All right. Well, I'm done taking up all your guys' time. Have fun.
Good to see you, John.
Good to see you guys too. No, don't do that. Ooh, I hated that.
I rubbed John's chin for the listeners.
You guys are gonna live together.
I know. He's legally signed an agreement with me, so he's he can't leave.
I mean, if anybody in this group was to find a way out of that legal agreement, it's John.
I don't know you shit.
John is reminding me that he knows the law now and doesn't owe me shit.
Case in and around point.
Yes, exactly. So the anyone watching the stream may realize that this is not Roll20 that we have up in front of us. It is the tool called Miro, because we are, as I said, trying to do a little world building for our next 13th Age campaign. For those of you who don't know, who aren't as big of nerds as us, 13th Age is a really cool game that was designed by some of the former creators of, or writers of like Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition and 4th edition, and it kind of borrows. I like to think it was kind of almost like an alternative concept of what 5e could have been, and it provides a lot of flexibility and sort of narrative focused game, like mechanics. We have a lot of fun playing it. We haven't done much streaming, but we're hoping to kind of make that more of a regular thing. And the 2nd edition, as I said, is coming out, so this is a perfect time for us to kind of get started. I have used their book, the Book of Ages, to kind of hack together a little bit of a world building, sort of a step-by-step process that we're going to kind of do together. The idea is we're going to, use this to generate ideas. We're going to talk through them, identify, see what bubbles to the top or what we all are resonating with. And then with those as backdrops, we're going to create icons of the world. Icons are like the movers and shapers of a fantasy world. Each player is going to design an icon and their corresponding faction, and we're going to build some world history together, some loose world history, and that's going to help inform their character, who will be connected to their icon and faction in some way. So that's all I got. We'll see if it works. And if not, we'll purge the servers and burn everything down and pretend this never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Any questions before we get started? No. Great. So of course, the first thing I like to start with usually with stuff like this is wish list stuff, things that were like, I would love to see this, just ideas generating. I put a bunch of examples, but I want you all to have examples. So if you want, let's just talk through some things. This is the green section. So I just put a bunch of I like things that are kind of like make the world different or flavorful. Examples could be, elves only recently appeared in the world, maybe from an extraplanar. They could be refugees or some sort of group coming from outside of the known world. There's a peace treaty with the vampire kingdom. It's been signed. They're trying to engage with daily or nightly life. So I have things like this. Anyone wants ideas, let's just throw some sticky notes up there, and whatever kind of feels like is rising to where we're saying, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I don't think Miro has a way to +1 things or something, but that would be kind of nice.
What do you mean by +1?
+1ing is you could click on it and be I like this idea. I support this idea.
Like an upvote?
Yeah, I'd like to upvote ideas.
I mean, we can
+1 is corporate
add.
speak.
You're right.
We can add little shapes to denote our vote.
I don't know if I like that.
You guys want to
do Sword Art Online 4 question marks?
do a Sword Art
Okay.
Online?
Downvote.
Only if it's one where it's just guns and no swords.
Gun Art Online?
I believe they called it Gun Gale Online, but yeah. So you don't want to do.
This
trapped,
seems sort of like a joke that's not landing.
You don't want to do trapped in a video game.
No.
Okay. Let's throw the
Do
shot.
I? No. I guess what we could do is
Can we also downvote? Is that an option?
add tags.
Yeah, I think that's what we did when we were doing the Hebria planning. Is we add a tag that was for the legacy events or whatever it was.
I don't know if it worked very well.
So I noticed, Michael, you have or had, oh my, there were like 3 different ideas about elves.
Yeah, that was it. So this isn't all things to be included. This is let's just throw things out there and pick stuff that feels good.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't really care if these are congruent. The ones we pick should be congruent.
I see.
But it's more about like kind of figuring out like what's like a cool, like a hook for this world that makes it something kind of like a little unique, right? We could also start if it makes people would prefer. We could start with things like what are the kind of biomes and backdrops that we'd like to see. That's a good one. But I like wish list kind of as a kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, I think wishlist also kind of encapsulates a lot of different things. Like if we're going to talk about, we like to see this type of magic that also fits within technology, magic, and politics. So I guess it just depends how much flavor we want to include in that.
Should be enough to fit on a sticky note.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like I think we can start with like a lot of like just big ideas, and then we can attribute them to different honing.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Joe, you've put Hollow Earth.
Just say, how do you
Could
guys
you
feel
elaborate?
about like alternate history Earth? Not necessarily our Earth, but like where humans are on the outside and that something causes like a rift, and there's like a whole world inside of our Earth, and that's where like magic and like the more magical races or lineages come from. So it would be like a little bit more like modern technology, but mixed with.
That sounds awfully close to urban fantasy.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty close to urban fantasy.
My least favorite literary genre.
Oh, well,
Oops.
those are the shot.
This ain't a book.
I very much appreciate you throwing that idea out there, Joe. But
You're right,
it's
Greg,
not
but
all
it is
views.
book adjacent.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be urban
Yeah,
fantasy.
I like,
either. It
I
could
like
be.
the concept.
It could be. It could have happened in, European. Like feudal Europe.
Yeah.
1400s.
Yeah.
But it didn't. I'm just kidding.
Greg, it's
Should
just
we?
you?
Yeah, I've added two things. I mean, we can speak to them. One thing that I thought would be interesting is if societies are organized by the function of the people. So you have like warrior cities and miner cities and politician cities. So it's not like organized by race as much as it is by creed, which can be interesting to avoid certain tropes that we normally see of like elves are this way or dwarves are this way. But then also means that there's a lot of stakes around like certain controlling properties or skills in the world. So it's just kind of a different way of thinking about how the society is organized, but that could be an interesting thing to play with. So I threw that out
like
there.
every city is hyper specialized, basically. and
Yeah, so like you
everything
have
is
your
trade.
like your nations are, this is the nation of warriors, this is the nation of tradesmen, this is the nation of artists, whatever. So something along those lines. And then I said that I like the idea of, and this might fit in a different list as well, but like an inflection point where a brand new source of power, question mark, could be magic, could be technology, could be, but there's like this is the watershed moment, like gold rush moment of a new thing, because I think that upsets power dynamics. It leaves a lot of room for like a new upstart group to be like taking advantage of, but also adds a lot of opportunistic people who are potentially not good, also trying to do the same thing. So I think like that's also interesting to me.
I like that. Very cool. Yeah, the societies one I think is interesting. I'd have to think about it because that's
Yeah, I mean,
it's really hard too. It's like if every society or every like city you go to and it's like everyone does one thing, might create headaches in the way of just like, well, everyone does one thing, but you know what I mean. So
How did they eat?
Or it could be like that if this is a wide spanning like world that there is a country in which cities are organized that way, and that is not necessarily that the entire globe or Earth or whatever is organized that way, right? But
I added an idea, which was that 2 full planes have a significant overlap zone, and you can transition between one and the other. And
the Venn diagram of these countries is a circle.
But the Venn diagram of these planes is actually a Venn diagram.
Are you
Yeah.
imagining in this case like plane is in like plane of fire, plane of water, and you just have a big steamy area, or are you
Steam bath.
imagining? Yeah, or are you imagining these are like just 2 like kind of like parallel worlds, like a Feywild and like our world kind of thing? Or
Kind of like a Feywild, but not necessarily like one of them is weird and the other one's regular. Like 2 just regular planes,
right?
maybe with different varieties of or different kind of like populations, but like they have like a convergence and they're sort of like learning to get along with one another.
That sounds cool. I like that. That also would fit very neatly with a brand new magic power has just been discovered.
Good.
Watershed moment. Kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting if like like there was only one kind of magic, and then suddenly it's like, nope, there's all these other kinds of magics too, and they're from this other world. Yeah, that's neat.
A like high fantasy world and a mage punk world together would be kind of cool.
Ooh, that's very cool.
So
Can
like,
someone just? I was gonna say, can someone describe what mage punk is to me? I don't know if I know what that is.
it's
No one does.
Yeah.
Wizards with mohawks.
No, it's like
Like Howl's Moving Castle, kind of, right? Like it's like, oh, I guess
Yeah,
the
I
original,
also-
not the movie, but yeah, the book.
Or like the Shadow and Bone series, where like they use magic to power their machines.
Oh, so Harry Potter. I'm just kidding.
No,
no,
that-
not
but they're
quite.
machines.
No.
Systemic racism.
I can't think of an example that isn't Magic the Gathering because I immediately go to the Kaladesh set.
Kaladesh, yeah.
Is like very mage punk. It's like steampunk, but everything is magic.
Yeah,
instead
it's
of
like
steam.
steampunk, but instead of steam, they use magic to power their devices.
Yeah, I would
with
say it's
cool
not like a
copper
super
gaskets.
super popular one, but like I don't know, I think it's cool.
I guess technically like Final Fantasy VII, because everything's materia.
Oh, that's
you know what
true.
I mean?
Yeah, that's
Like,
technically
that's-
mage
Or
punk.
Okay, sure.
Legend
Yeah.
of Korra is like almost mage punk.
Yeah.
Like the scene where like the people are like electric bending into like to like create electricity. Like
Yeah,
that like
yeah.
that would be kind of mage punky.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I personally don't want it to be like super high tech.
Yeah.
But I do like a lot of magic. Magic tech is always fun. So I'm fine with high fantasy, high magic if we like that. And there's a lot of like magic is very commonplace, or that it's becoming common. Like I like that too. Again, this idea of like the planes is kind of exciting. I like the brand new power. Like
Do
it
we-
could be a thing.
Sorry, for the sake of clarity for ourselves, are the suggestions you put suggestions where you're like, oh, I want this, or did you
I
just
just put things.
Can
I'm like,
we
these are just things come to
delete
mind.
things that if we're all like, hey, this isn't feel like, can we delete it just to remove clutter? Because I don't want to
Of
just have a
course.
bunch of example stuff that we're not actually considering.
Yeah.
If that's okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's
I'll
fine.
I'll fight you on them.
No, I mean that's fine. I just want to make sure we're not like adding more things we have to parse through if we're not actually considering them.
Yeah, I mean, I put down ideas that generally I like, but that doesn't mean.
Yeah. No, again,
How'd you add the tag?
If you click on it, you get
there's a tag button.
There is a a tag item.
Got it.
Is anyone okay with me creating a tag called to remove so that we can just tag the things that we're like not?
Sure.
Sure.
I'm just putting the King Seer has lost their visions of the future is like kind of, I don't think it's bad. It's just kind of generic. It's kind of like Oracle stuff, which I'm fine with us not making that the centerpiece of it. But
Sure.
And sorry, is Hollow Earth, just as a reminder, Hollow Earth is just like there's a hidden world behind this world? That's like the idea, usually?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, cool. I like, yeah.
But
I
like
that.
it actually is basically the two planes, except less.
Right.
Like it's just a little bit different.
But they're side by side instead of on top of each other.
Yeah.
Michael, I mean, I know you've added some here, but what are some things that you are particularly interested in as like an idea? Like, are these the ones, or did you have anything you haven't shared that you were like?
No, this was really just spitballing. I was just like, what are like things that could be interesting tensions or interesting like, I mean, I guess for me, like a lot of times it's just like I'm like, oh, that's a something that could be a generate plot, right? Like. So even though you said like to remove on like the King's Seer, like that's like I think it's interesting if you have a kingdom's like, oh, the kingdom's very steady, because you can see the future, and suddenly the Seers lost their visions. What could that mean? Like that generates all these tensions in the world, right? Like it's so yeah, that's the kind of thing I think about. You know what I mean? Or like and I have there like a peace treaty with vampires. So, okay, so what does this look like? This is a new kind of area, and that also something like that informs you, right? Like there is a vampire kingdom. There's like that helps to things that help to inform also then the factions, the icons, and the inhabitants after. That's kind of how I like to think about stuff.
Yeah.
I've added my opinions on all of them.
I think the problem is with the pluses. I don't think you can add multiple plus tags.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Somebody just put +2 and then +3, and you can just put your.
Yeah, I guess what we could have is like probably put our names in.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like super.
Yeah.
Like,
Or we can just go through and talk about them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
I'm
lot
actually.
of these I have no opinion on.
So I'll talk about this one here. I added Legacy to Hollow Earth, which is not one of the aforementioned tags, because what if we've got our two planes that are overlapped? We got High Magic and Mage Punk. What if the Mage Punk one is a Hollow Earth?
Hey, that's cool.
That's cool as hell.
They built their own sun.
A Dyson Sphere.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Tesla.
No.
Nope.
No.
Not that.
I'm interested that there's both a +1 and -1 on There Are No Elves. Does anyone care to elaborate their position on that?
I'm more doubt. I was -1. I did have an opinion on that one. Removing an entire genealogy.
Yeah, but also remember that it's just flavor in
That's
third
true.
image.
Yeah. I +1'd it because I'm probably going to play an elf, and I would absolutely love to be like a spider in race.
No.
All right.
Get weird with it.
I've added tags for each person can have a plus and a minus with their first initial. So now you have to do it all over again.
But mine is
I mean, I
A
think we could-
plus.
I think we
That's
could also
true.
probably
That's the best grade.
brainstorm out loud a little bit. I don't know how to. I guess we'll get to this. I like the idea when there's things narratively that are like a certain group or nation or like population is tied to a specific identity. So what I mean by that is, like, for example, in Avatar: The Last Airbender, like the Fire Nation, the Water Nation, whatever, like informs a lot about there's this being a specific group. So I like the idea of also like, what if there's populations that are, I'm just making something up, but like tied to like weapons or technology, right? So there's like a country or a population, it's like the way of the spear, right? And so like these are all like militants that learn how to fight with spears, and like that's kind of like where they come from, right? So like this idea, it's kind of like the way that you'd think of like Genghis Khan and like Those are like horseback riders, and like horseback riders as their like core of everything in their society is based around that. So this could be like zodiac signs, or like they're all based off of some sacred animal, kind of, the way that we talked about icons in Hebrea. I always just like having that kind of like there are groups that are tied to something larger, but I kind of guess that's what we want our icons to also be. I guess my question is, that was a roundabout way of saying, do we want our icons and factions to be how society is divided, or are they a minute part of a larger society that there are like followers of icons?
You're getting ahead, but if you get to the icon section, there is actually a discussion about that. There are different kinds of icons. There are eternal icons in the world, so you could think of like an eternal icon as someone who's like been around forever, right? So like you got like an immortal emperor, or it's even something like this empire has been around for basically the last 1,000 years, and there's always an emperor. So that's like a fixed figure that becomes an eternal icon. There's ones who are age defining, which is like basically someone who's only really here for this age, and they are the ones who are causing the biggest splash, right? The biggest change. There is also a recurring icon, so you can imagine someone who's like, that's how I actually think of like Ganondorf, like
Yeah.
like goes away, comes
Perfect.
back, like
Yeah.
that's a recurring icon. So the thing too is that their icons are important based on the scope of the world. So if you think about it, like if you're playing in we're playing in one empire, let's say, right? And so then, okay, we're playing in this empire. The emperor or the empress, they're an icon because they run the empire. But then so is the criminal syndicate head, right? Who's like the controls all of the crime, right? Like that's, even though they're like kind of different, that they fit. They could both be icons because they both control a major aspect of the world. An icon is someone who's basically, they're the ones driving a lot of the change and developments through factions, is the way to think about it.
I really like the idea that all of the nations are based on like weapons. Like I think there's a lot more there than might be on the surface, because like, so a nation, let's say each nation has a magic item, like weapon. So like the spear nation, so like that would impact their, a spear is like 1, easy to use, 2, kind of safe, 3, powerful in numbers. So
Right.
their magic would be like, they might
Ranged.
favor
It's
magic missile,
defensive.
Right.
Yeah, or they also might be like more hunter-gatherer type like societies than like something that's more like it informs all aspects of a society, right?
Whereas like the sword, region would be like a little bit more like maybe knights and pages, where like,
right.
they have
Could we
few soldiers, but they're all very skilled or something.
Could we maybe like even like one thing I always love in fantasy is when you can reduce something to like kind of 3. So like the idea of like there was like a nation, like an axe, spear, sword.
The Fire
Nations.
Emblem Trinity. Yes, let's go.
Oh wow, I just reinvented Fire Emblem.
We did it again.
We did it again.
But I actually, it's because it's nice.
It
It's
is
neat.
nice. Yeah,
You know
it
what I mean?
is very neat.
No bludgeoning weapons in there.
You're right.
Well, I think you
Well-
could put it in axe.
But I guess, I mean, here's the thing, right?
That's
Like
what they do in Fire Emblem.
I think something that would be really cool, and I'm kind of like narrow casting to myself, but like there's this idea of historically, maybe it's like the god of, like actually it's like playing Hades, right? It's like you pick your spear influences everything that you do. So like there's this idea of like maybe there's like the god of spears, but it's now thousands of years in the future, and like spears have evolved also. So maybe like the spear like weapons are like some of them also have but I mean like have like think about it like maneuverable chains linked together as the hilt, so you can like bend a spear around a corner, right? Like if you flick it the right way. So it's like stuff where it's like you've evolved a little bit of that society or like the thing. I'm kind of thinking it's like maybe a mash between like like a Hades pick your weapon and also like zodiac signs. So it's like we are the society of blah and this is our truth, but it's like a martial weapon or like projectiles, and projectiles could be everything from like siege engines to like stones that you throw, right? It kind of depends.
What are arrows but tiny spears?
Well, sure, right.
It could be, yeah. I like this idea though that you even had kind of said it at one point, but like the idea that like maybe there is like a god-like weapon, and like it could be interesting that if there are like 3 or 4 kingdoms, and it's like they were all proxies in like a war of the gods, and like they've devoted to this around this weapon, and that's influenced things. I like that.
Yeah, if I could kind of like narratively put it together, imagine like shard bearers from
I'm always imagining shard bearers.
Fuck. Now I'm from the what's it called? What's the series called?
Stormlight
Wave
Archives.
Kings. Stormlight Archives, and also like like zodiac signs. So like the tiger like bludgeoning weapons or whatever, something like that, right? Like I think there's something there potentially.
I like that a lot.
Hey, Greg, that's rad as hell.
Super rad. I gave a plus to that.
I would stray away from animals because we already have a high fantasy world where everything is based on animals.
We sure do.
And I don't know if we want to.
No, it could be things like,
it'd be more of a motif.
like the Tempest, right? And it's all like I don't know, like
Shakespeare play.
Yeah.
Yes.
Caliban. No, it's like it's and then maybe they use like Katsuri Gamas or whatever. I don't know. Like it's flexible, but I think something like that could be interesting.
I like that a lot. And if you guys like it, put a plus.
I already did.
And I mean, that might also feed in. I know we were just talking about like I had suggested this earlier, but like brand new magic power. So like, what if there's like a people's god, religion or faith or god that's like based off this new thing? So if this new thing is like, let's call it nuclear fission, for example, and like that's the power. Like science is the power, right? It's like all of a sudden there's this new entrant in this kind of a society.
Right. You can imagine like especially if society were say like they were all at war, this like kind of like especially if it was driven by like these gods, and it's maybe at sort of like a stalemate the last couple years, and now there's suddenly this possibility of like of surpassing your rival neighbor.
Yeah, exactly. Whoever's been the long-standing, the swords have always been so powerful and organized or whatever. I don't know. I guess.
Yes, I like that a lot.
So basically, we are just doing Sword Art Online with guns, because that's basically what we're talking about.
I don't know what that is, so I can't plagiarize it. Okay, I know what that is. I haven't seen it, so I can't plagiarize it.
Don't. It's bad.
Here's the thing. Sword Art Online, if you watch the first half of the first season, it's pretty good.
Exactly.
Because that's before basically the first arc is pretty good.
The first episode is actually very good.
Yeah.
But boy, does it go downhill.
I don't want to maybe metagame too hard with this. Do we want to create a different label that's like linking different things together that are kind of the same? Like I'm thinking like there's the one in the bottom that's like there's a current war between 2 schools of magic, but like that could be the same thing as like there's different groups that are warring factions, right? Like do we
move them
Greg,
out.
you ignorant slut. We can just do a direct line.
We could move them too, so they're.
Yeah, you can also just pick up that post-it note and put it right here.
I am ignorant.
You
That's
ignorant
true.
slut. So indirect.
Why does that tag not work for me?
I'll be right back.
Okay, we'll be right here.
There you go.
Quick, let's do everything without him.
Are we okay removing the ones that say to remove, just so we declutter?
That's fine. Yep.
Okay.
I'm not gonna fight for any.
Cool.
Is this fun?
My Tetris brain. I'm having fun.
Fun here.
I think
How about
maybe.
how about the viewers? You guys?
Anyways,
Whoa.
text us.
Sorry, did I just move the world?
Yeah, a little bit. Whoa.
I moved it back. Sorry.
Jeez.
Too much. You've entrusted me with too much power.
Yeah, but that's kind of got its own brand of fun.
I like that idea a lot, Greg. I like the idea. It's not necessarily even to that it's like, that it's all about the one weapon, but I like the idea that there's an identity around a weapon. I think again we've even talked about too is like things like that can flow out of that, right? Like, okay, these are all weapons. Maybe they're some sort of god or some sort of force, some sort of influencing force. All sorts of things can kind of flow from that.
Well, like for example, stretching it to an extreme. What if the archer or like whatever, like the historical icon is? What if today, thousands of years, they're the like postmen of this world, right? So they have figured out technology to literally send things like across the sky from one thing to another thing, right? Like that could be part of who they are, and like they don't all have to be continuously warring factions for generations and generations and generations.
You're thinking about this on a way different timeline than I am.
Well, it could be either. I'm just saying, like, it could be...
Let me give a different example than one that you just said. So, I created a nation in one of my own works where the ruling class is the Gorgons. And because they can turn people to stone, their entire military uses only bludgeoning weapons. Because blades are not good against things that have been turned to stone. But you can smash them with hammers.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
So you build your world based on that.
Although once they've been turned to stone, do you have to fight them still?
No, but once it's been turned to stone, you can break it with a hammer.
That seems cruel.
But do they stay stone?
They're an aggressive empire. It's just an example, Joe. You don't have to read into it.
Right. So, just to keep us like, do we want to add new stuff? Because I guess from what I'm hearing and looking at, it seems like there's maybe like 3 themes that are kind of coming out of this. So it sounds like one of it is that there's a new type of technology or magic or something that is like new to this world, which has caused some kind of instability. There's some kind of a warring or conflict either because of that entrance or because of the identities of certain groups that are overlapping in some way, whether that's like extraplanar or whether that's political or something. There's kind of this like 2 major groups have a conflict. And then there's this idea of identities born from an ancestral weapon function identity. That's kind of educate where we are today. Those are kind of the 3 big things I've seen that kind of touch a lot of this stuff. Is there anything else?
I like all those things.
Call out as like explicitly also this.
I think the planar thing could still fit in.
Well, that's what I mean. Is that totally still fits within the.
I think it would be cool if one of those planes had that and the other one didn't, and you've got the interplay between those.
That could be cool. Yeah.
The only thing that about the 2 planes that could get tricky is it's like I don't necessarily want to make 2 worlds.
Yeah.
So it's more things like we're in one world that's getting influenced by another world, sure, but I don't necessarily want to make 2 worlds because that's opening the door already to kind of the problem I felt there was with Imeria was just like there was just too much stuff that I had to like kind of like try to make work together.
Can we consolidate and say the new entrant technology comes from this planar world, and the planar world is not like a whole universe. It's like, what if it's a pocket, like kind of what we're talking about with the Hollow Earth, right? It's like there's this one hidden thing that is now no longer hidden,
right? That
had its own. Right, so it's like treated as just one other society, not like a whole.
If you want to look at the very first point on the list, the idea of something like elves just appeared in the world, maybe as extraplanar refugees, something like that would also fit it as well.
I thought they were spider people and not elves.
Well, that was a different one. You removed that one.
I didn't. We just moved it, didn't we?
No, we just moved it. It's not.
That one was moved. Sorry. But so like that's that one. Yeah, I mean the idea of that too. It's like yes, I love the idea that like there's been an influx of something. Totally fine if it's planar. That's cool. Yeah, but my thought would be it's just like I would like it in the sense of like that where it's like okay something has come in and upset the balance, but I just don't want us to be like okay well we have to make this whole other world culture and make them
Agreed.
mix, or we're gonna go back
Agreed.
and forth between. I don't really want that for simplicity's sake.
No, I mean, I would say what it would behoove us to treat it as imagine it's just one of the other clans or factions.
Right.
That's it. Like, there's no other bigger. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I mean,
it could also be same world, two continents,
yeah.
very easily.
2 worlds, 1 family.
I kind of like
I just beat the Tarzan level in Kingdom Hearts 1.
There you go.
I kind of like the idea of mage punk elves.
Mhm.
I don't know why. I just
Sick
think
as
that's
hell.
cool.
Yeah, mage punk elves. They don't even have swords and spears. They're like, you guys fight with sharp things? Oh shit.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, 'cause
what if
they-
the elves?
We could do the.
Oh, sorry.
We could do the weapon trinity, and then they were kind of at a balance, and then
The Fire
the
Nation.
Fire
attack.
Nation
freaking the elf. Well, just like the elf kingdom appeared out of nowhere.
RKO out of nowhere. No, but
Off the
Guns
top rope.
blazing.
but like, what if, even to throw maybe like one step further, what if all these historical, like, let's call them the non-planar societies, have tied to an identity, and then these mage punk like elves come in, they're like, oh, we don't have some faith-based like like, what if they're like agnostic or atheist or like more scientific, and they're like, the people decide, the people are the power, instead of like this shared identity, and that causes.
I love having like
Socialist faction.
people socialist faction.
Yeah, the people's movement.
Our magic.
The people, the mage punk elven people's republic or whatever. No, but like, I mean, that could also be a political conflict, because it's not it's like, oh, we don't even know how to understand who that society is, because they don't have the same value system, because they're not tied to this ancient like creed or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable leaving this where it is for now, and
Yeah,
letting Michael
I agree.
I think it's a good
extrapolate from this what he wants,
Yeah.
and have the option of coming back to it and moving
Yeah.
on.
Well,
Uh,
and I think because it's the idea is this is a thing that can then start to inform our other things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, Joe was kind of quiet though, but Joe, did you have anything else? I don't want to like
No, I'm good.
steamroll.
I
Okay.
had to get up to get a drink.
Yeah, you're
and
good.
go to
I just
the
want to make sure.
Cool.
Joe, can I step on your toes for a little bit? Is
Oh,
that all right?
please. Yeah. If you could just
Thanks.
stomp down.
I'm not here to kink shame Anthony, but it's very inappropriate right now. Speaking of kink shaming, we have a ban list.
I'm gonna add no kink shaming as the next.
Oh no, you've created an infinite loop.
I don't know if we need to plus minus these. Like these
No,
are.
I wasn't
No.
plusing and minusing these necessarily. I just think, yeah, these are things actually hard. We will not be no kinkos, no kinkos in
No
this world.
Kinkos.
Only FedEx Prince drops.
No, FedEx owns Kinko. It's
Oh.
US. Yeah.
I see. Thank you. No, I think it's very important, obviously, for us to kind of set ground rules of things we don't want to see in this world. So we have things in here like no analogs to real life hatred, racism, anti-Semitism. Otherwise, we want to avoid playing with things like mental illnesses or things that people struggle with in real life. No animal cruelty or abuse. Obviously, there's things like we might fight monsters or beasts, but not going to make that gratuitous. No sexual violence. No kinkos. Anything else that people say like I really don't want to see it, just to make sure we can avoid things like that. These things are always on our list, but I don't know if there's.
Yeah,
do
this
it.
is our standing list.
I do it every time. No
Eye stuff.
stuff, please.
That's right.
No,
when
I
you say eye staff,
Cyclops gouging out mostly. Anything. I just
Eye violence.
I will vomit for
Joe,
real.
have we ever fought a beholder?
That doesn't. It's the player character
Like,
stuff.
like a human.
Yeah. So you don't mind it? Okay, I get it. Monster's eyes.
I mean,
What about
yeah.
I
an
would-
evil eye of Orms by Gore?
I would feel uncomfortable if people started plucking
Yes.
out kobold eyes. Also,
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's also horrifying.
I mean any like monster.
Yeah, I get it. I
Yeah.
agree. So no eye. Again, no gratuitous eye violence.
I will
very-
I will vomit for real.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
And we do not want that. We want you to be comfortable.
Mhm.
We'll be fine. That list can evolve. I don't think we need to spend too much time on it, but it's always good to just revisit. We can go down kind of. I think it's good to talk about biomes and backdrops. Like, what are the kind of places we're really interested in experiencing? I just think a lot of fiction flows from location.
It does.
So I think if we can kind of pick like 4 or so of like biomes, I think that's useful. You can add more too. It doesn't have to just be these.
You've named like every biome though.
No,
I
you
tried
haven't.
to be good. No,
Oh,
you haven't.
except for
Oh,
Sky,
Sky Islands. Okay, well, we know Sky Islands has to be a thing, right? That is the people have spoken. Sky Islands.
People love Sky Islands.
Tears of the Kingdom has only been out. Ooh, Ice Caverns.
I feel like we never play winter type.
That is
areas.
true.
I'd love-
I'm down for it. I feel like it was so trodden by Skyrim, and I ran some stuff. If you guys remember, I did like a mining town or like a logging town like adventure. I've done a lot of one-shot stuff in like snowy places, but
If
yeah,
we
I'm
had
fine.
done the bonus episode of Hebria, that's a winter-based one.
Never will do it though. It's dead.
Let's see. Mangroves. I want to fight a Kenyan
I actually
crab.
was thinking of
Crab battle.
it would be fun. Like we got past where I would have pitched it, but it would be kind of fun to play like fantasy Florida.
Oh boy.
That's dangerous territory.
It is very dangerous.
Anything is possible.
I know.
And it's a utopia.
Fantasy Florida.
But like the map is literally just Florida.
You can
Isn't
do what
that? I think there is a fantasy IP where it is just a map of Florida, but it's like torqued in some
That's
way.
sick.
That's funny.
It was on an episode of Actually. It's just Florida.
Curious about that. Yes, these are great. I like a marshland. I think that marshlands and swamps are great for kind of creepy adventures. You can have a lot of weird, because like, I mean, maybe not to be too tropey, but like, I think that like high fantasy and also like fucking deliverance creepy shit is like kind of can go really well. It gets more kind of like psychological horror stuff with that.
Yeah.
It's like
I mean, I think there's
action-y.
also an argument though, which is like you can have a pretty well defended keep in a swampland, right?
Yeah.
So like it doesn't have to be the evil person lives there. It could just be
no.
like there's actually a very just society, but it protects itself with the environment around it, right? Like, but I know what you mean.
Are these
Yeah.
the same?
Tundra is different than ice caverns. Ice caverns.
Well, mountains and tundra.
Yeah, that's that. Like, you would have ice caverns in mountain and tundra, but I don't know.
We could also
if
break
this is,
up
like, a
mountains and
difference.
tundra.
We can combine it into winter stuff, I guess. I just the idea of ice caves and caverns and tunnel systems and like there's so much that is hidden that like I think that's interesting. But
Yep.
I
Well,
also,
yeah,
I also
I think
just
that
watched Empire Strikes Back, so
it
very
also
down.
fits with underground society.
let me pitch you on an entire society
And Sky
that is in a
Nope.
ice cavern built into a floating giant glacier that goes in and around the
Joe, let me pitch
World.
this particular backdrop for you. What if instead of just islands, like seeing islands, we combine it with jungles and tropics? And it's island where dinosaurs are real.
That sounds like a movie I'd probably like.
Probably.
Who knows?
I
Who
noticed the
knows?
desert's got a bunch of pluses. It's actually funny. So you guys there was a lot of pluses on a major kingdom in the desert, but the treacherous sands must be crossed by mithril bottom skiffs and boats. And most of you, I think, were all of you part of this, where we played Dungeon World, and that was literally the setting of.
I did not play Dungeon.
You did not play Dungeon World. That was the setting. And there was also a
was
that culminated.
cool.
That culminated in a seer or like a wizard king losing his ability to see the future. So that was very. I put just two old ideas up there.
Spoilers.
It was cool.
Yeah, it's okay. They'll never be released. They are recorded somewhere, but poorly.
Yeah, I think there was an audio issue on that one.
I think we were also. It's like before we even had like mics. But yeah, I did like that world. It was cool. We had a good time. You guys got chased by a bullet. Bullet.
That was an angsty teen.
Yeah, you're an angsty teen getting chased by a bullet in a boat. It was fun.
Oh.
Yeah, I like the Sky Islands, the mountains, the ice caves, the underground society. I like that. I like 3 strata of society. That's a lot of fun. That feels very easy for us to play with.
Well, and 4th with a planar thing, right? So you get this new planar
4th
society.
stratum.
True.
Oh, we should also
But-
probably add that, right? The plane,
Yes, the plains.
but not planes.
Yes,
Okay, hear me out.
the high plains.
Hear me out. If we go with the weapons, the Spear Kingdom is mostly a desert kingdom, but they also have an underwater kingdom that's tridents.
Yes, and their ambassadors are always saying things like, "I feel you're missing the point."
You're really
It's a
getting,
pun-based kingdom.
you're really
I
getting the
mean,
sharp end of the
I
stick.
support that.
I'm sorry. I'm sick that session.
All right.
Yeah. I like this. I think actually very cool to imagine that this is a fairly localized area that is broken into like underground ice caverns, like the mountain and surrounding tundra civilizations and the Sky Islands. Like, and you can imagine they all fucking hate each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really rad and pretty cool to explore. If you guys think
like
that's
Yeah.
and then
Like
the
this-
idea that something is kind of upsetting that, like this extra planar thing.
I like this 3-layer cake.
Mm-hmm.
4-layer cake.
Well, no,
Or
the side is
cake.
side is clotted cream that you're putting
Yeah,
on top
3-layer cake with a filling.
Mm-hmm.
with a cornetto just fucking stuck into it on the side. Okay, fuck it. This is a dessert kingdom. It's not desert
All right,
kingdom.
wait,
It's dessert
well,
kingdom.
that- yes.
Your cake looks a
Wedding
mess.
cake.
Hey, eating mess.
So are we okay? Because it looks like everyone liked deserts. Are we okay with not having deserts? We're doing
a tundra is a
stuff?
desert.
That's true. It is a type of desert. You are correct. And that's actually a neat twist on that. The idea if there is like a inhospitable like
Same thing. You
tundra.
might still have to sail across it. Like you could do exactly the same condition.
Yeah, we can plagiarize ourselves.
Hey,
Cool. I like that a lot. I'm just gonna put these over here. Neat.
I'm
Okay.
glad that we all upvoted deserts, and we liked the tundras, but not wastelands. Fuck
I
that.
just, the
put
Fallout
it in
show just
there.
came out.
I was over that before the show came out.
Yeah, me
so
too.
We can
I'm
just
a
get rid of it.
Wasteland fan.
See, here's the thing. Again, if you're picking for that, like having one area that like something really shitty happened in is not a bad choice, right?
yeah. I'm wondering. I mean, this is more for the, I guess, biome and backdrop.
Mhm.
Do we want to add one that is truly? I don't even mean a wasteland, but truly toxic. Like you cannot enter it. Right. This is not like there's nothing there. Like
but then
there is something that is you are barred. Maybe most people have been told they're barred from entering because it is
A forbidden lands kind of
Something
thing.
like
Forbidden
that, yeah.
zone.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm just putting that out there. Like, is there like a where it's like going in like not radiation, but like like literal like poisonous clouds, like stuff where it's like inaccessible or lava everywhere. I don't know. Like, you
Something that
just
always
can't-
lives
Why would we
rent
do that?
free in my head is reading a paper or like a short article that was basically like how do we as a society mark toxic waste storage areas so
Very
that
cool.
that they will be clearly marked post like society's end, since they will still be
Right.
dangerous long after humans are probably gone.
Right.
And a lot of the depictions are really dark and rad, but I was like, the funny thing that comes to my mind playing like tabletop RPGs is like, if I described this exact area to a group of adventurers, they would go straight into it.
Well, but I
Like,
mean,
that's
what
where the treasure is.
what if it's even more like imagine this, right? Imagine there was like a whole area of a map that when you cross that border, there's literally no oxygen for some reason. Like it's a thing where it's like
You want a
it is
Bermuda Triangle?
But then
yeah, but I mean a thing that is truly inaccessible. This is not like a conspiracy theory. It's like there's truly a zone that like that is a like, and maybe you cast exiles there or something. I don't know, but like
But why?
No, something
why
that's-
I don't know why we would write that in if we could never go there.
well, I'm not saying Michael can decide.
What if
Michael
we
can
had
decide.
to go there?
Also, you could never go to space until you built ways to get into space, right? Like,
Our princess is in another castle, and it's in the Forbidden Zone.
Well, that also could be part of like an
It
idea.
just
of-
feels like Chekhov's Forbidden Zone, you know, like
yeah.
like
You gotta go
you
there at some
establish it and you know that you're gonna go there. So I'm kind of like,
I have some of those in Hebria.
Well, or you can make it a hard line like it truly is, right? Like it is only exists as this is a death sentence. There is no secret behind it, right? It's just an element. It's a feature of the world. It's not like going into a volcano is bad for you in our world. Like, you cannot go in them. But
I dig it.
it doesn't have to be its own thing. I'm saying like it's just like a color, right, for the world, not everything.
I like it.
Backdrop.
I mean, so here's the thing. What we have just decided here is mountains, tundra, all this stuff. Obviously, doesn't mean there can't be a large city or something, right? I put Sprawling Metropolis, but like that's kind of more
sure.
into like a mega city kind of thing, and like
Yeah.
so
I see.
these don't like exclude that, but it is help. This is really helpful. Again, like I think this idea of like I mean, I know what we have fundamentally just done is Tears of the Kingdom, with or Elden Ring too with Underdark. Elden Ring technically did it before Tears of the Kingdom.
Yes.
It's also very video gaming. The Underworld
Released
current
before,
plan.
but yeah. I did have in my notes. Sorry, just because I think it's a good bit. Would love to have an isolated city in the middle of an inhospitable domain, like a Sky Island or Las Vegas.
I enjoyed
Or
that
Las
one.
Vegas. Yeah, that was very funny.
I would say
Um,
even though none of us upvoted sea islands, the world should probably have a sea and some islands.
Yeah, but if it's not in our scope, I don't have to draw them. You know what I mean? We don't have to think about them.
Sure.
yeah, we don't have to go
It's
there.
nice to have. It's nice to have them. Well, we could be from there, but not go there.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you're an Outlander kind of thing, like you can make up whatever you want. I don't care.
I come
But
from the ocean.
the point I would also again remind you is that I want you to be connected to the play space.
Yeah.
So I one of the things I loved that you guys all did in our last 13th Age campaign is you were all very creative and you all picked things that I did not expect. Like making up types of magic, or making a totally new like tree folk race, or picking the Nazi elves as your race. So I didn't expect a lot of choices, but I did appreciate it. But my goal with this is we're gonna make a smaller area, and you're gonna have like you guys are having more agency. So instead of just picking something that's not in space to be your character, you're gonna connect your character to the space.
Hey, Michael.
Uh-huh.
I'll do it again.
I was gonna say, should we at some point tonight should we have like a rough like how
That's
do we
what Michael
want?
said. We should maybe
Ideally
end with
ending
an
with
idea.
Idea of
Okay.
your character.
Because like,
Yeah.
I,
Or at
like
least some stuff. Yeah.
you know, our characters could be related or childhood friends or
Yeah.
you know
Yes.
like
Or-
and
yes.
they maybe should be because we've never done that before. You know, we've always
That's
kind
true.
of been like, you know, ragtag
Yep,
group
I
of
like it. I'm not going to
adventurers.
force it, but something like that would be very fun if we can get to it organically. Okay, I do like where we are, kind of with some of these
Yeah.
backdrops. I think we have some emerging themes. Let's talk maybe a little more quickly about technology, magic, Oh, I should do a quick check. It's 10 Eastern, 9 Central. Does anyone need a bio break or anything?
I'm good.
I think with this one we can kind of just get up, you know, mute and get up and
Yeah.
Sure. So I think the next thing is quickly talking, we actually have kind of talking the whole time, technology, politics, magic. Do people have something really strong feelings about this?
Have you guys
Uh,
heard
well,
of Mage Punk?
Mage
Yeah.
Punk? I actually
You
put
guys know
Mage
what
Punk
that
in
is?
there,
Yeah,
Which it's funny. I defined right there too.
what
Things
is
are
it though?
Things are technical and highly magical, but in an almost industrial way.
Yeah, I had a slightly different I like this and I'm fine with it. I had the image that something that could be interesting is like far future, post-apocalyptic, or like dying Earth. So like technology and magic are indistinguishable at this point. So it's like you're just as amazed that like
Numenera.
that yeah, but like you're just as amazed that a light might turn on as you are that like you can control like water with your mind or whatever. Where it's like these things are kind of forgotten, or that like you've got rusted machines, forgotten technology, like things like that. But it's not like hyper modern. It's just like yeah, gears and stuff. So I think something within Mage Punk, Steampunk could be interesting as a world.
Yeah, I think the tricky part with Dying Earth, I mean, it's one of those things that's like, I feel like as a sentence is very cool. It's like, you've reached a point where
it doesn't jive with me.
yeah,
That's okay.
you reach a point where like technology and magic are indistinguishable, which I'm like, that's a really cool sentence. I do find something like Numenera, sometimes it gets a little hard to ground anything.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but I do also think it's fun to have like to put up a little bit of a boundary, which is like
Yeah, you don't want to
things
just be like I discover nuclear bombs or like
Yeah,
whatever. Like
exactly.
I get. No, I don't really have anything to add to technology. I'm more interested in politics and magic, so I'm fine with Mage Punk and personally with Mage Punk, Steampunk kind of.
Yeah, I kind of like Mage Punk low fantasy. Like
that
so like
doesn't jive at all. You know?
well no like but that we said the elves might be Mage Punk.
It
But
could
like
be, yeah.
the world
that
itself,
magic is
like,
relatively new to the other
used
ones,
to be
yeah.
low fantasy,
Mhm.
and isn't anymore. And it could be, 200 years, 300, like pick a number, but
Mhm.
For my edification again, how would you define low fantasy?
Low fantasy is generally magic is rare and dangerous and not
Gotcha.
understood. So generally, in a low fantasy setting, it's like you might get there might be no magic, but there could be some magic, and if you get it, it's like you are terrified because it's imagine getting like fundamentally like a grenade and you don't know what it does.
Yeah.
You
Sure.
know?
Yeah,
I think
like
it
you're
was more
you're
like
shunning
high-
people who
high-
can control fire because they're dangerous, and you're
Yeah, well, but if anyone can, if anyone does, they're just as likely to probably burn themselves.
yeah.
Than
I
anyone
see.
around them.
It's wild. It's like wild. Like can't be
Yeah.
harnessed. Right. It's not like every day.
Or
it's
and
not-
some people
yeah,
could,
sure.
but it is like yeah, if you find it, you're like
Okay.
this. Yeah.
I would
Oh,
say more
that's-
of Mage Punk plus high fantasy.
yeah,
So
I was misunderstanding what low fantasy was meaning. I think of, I mean, this probably isn't true, but I think of low fantasy as being like Arthurian legend would be low fantasy to me, because like there just aren't that many wizards.
Just dudes with swords.
But that's funny because I get that's interesting.
And
Well,
like
but by virtue of that, that's also like Lord of the Rings. You'd fundamentally call low fantasy, which is also like
there's only 5 wizards. It's got to be low fantasy.
there's a lot of magical beings in Lord of the Rings though.
that's true.
Like
Yeah,
like,
you got
like,
your Balrogs and your Bombadils.
yeah, like the Balrog wouldn't be in an Arthurian legend,
Yes. Correct. No, you're right, and I think you're right that it is relatively low fantasy, and
I mean, it's
that
a
is
spectrum,
actually
but
that is true, right? Because like only a couple people use magic, but then like you have your Merlins who are just high fantasy. You have basically fundamentally you have a character who's just really misplaced with the rest of the world.
well, yeah, kind of.
Lord of the Rings, you have nations of elves.
Yeah,
You got nations of
I would
Numenoreans.
say I put low fantasy, but I will say that isn't something. It sounds like we're okay with maybe not doing true low fantasy, but that's not something that actually jives super well with 13th Age because it is kind of a high powered game.
Yeah, that's
You put
and
that in your primer.
I would do higher power fantasy. That's really fun.
But I like the idea of the like you have like more of even like a sort of like a less technological group, and then suddenly it's like someone's like they've harnessed all this weird magics in these weird ways, and it's really like disrupting stuff. Like that is cool. Yeah.
Well, and it could even be like, we could only cast weak spells, and then we get this technology that just allows us to cast better spell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Okay.
That could still be true.
Yeah, that could. Yeah.
Some notes. Cool. I like that. Magic. I mean, we're kind of talking about these all at the same time.
High magic. Let's move on.
Yeah. High magic.
I'm gonna add a couple
mhm.
things in politics and then edit them, but I'm adding them to the list. Hold on.
Oh.
I'm deleting stuff that is no longer relevant. All right. Oh, I don't know why it's not numbered.
Yeah.
These are just suggestions. They don't have to do everything, but I can walk through some of them if you want.
They're pretty well written out.
Yeah. Is there any of those that you're particularly interested in, Greg?
Well, I like the idea personally of shapeshifters in political. Like, I think we should have shapeshifters in this world. I think that's an interesting thing because I think it's. I mean, I don't know if how people feel about that, but I think it is interesting from a political.
I will marry a shapeshifter.
Right.
Yeah.
We already put no kink shaming, so I can't say anything.
But I
Yeah.
mean, like, I think it is interesting always to have this idea of like they are used in the same way that, like, again, in Way of Kings, a shard bearer would be used. Having somebody that is able to shapeshift is a huge political advantage. So, like, I think something like that is an interesting.
Greg, are you reading Way of Kings right now?
I used to be, not anymore. I'm trying to scrape my way through the Dark Tower. I'm on the final book and I'm like almost there, but it's a fucking slog to get to the last.
I couldn't listen on like the 6th book because I think that's when the
That one is the
audio.
worst by far.
Well,
Yeah.
no, not just that, but like the audiobook reader, reader died.
Oh shit.
And it changed, and I was like, I don't know who's speaking anymore, and I just couldn't.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten back to it because I'm like, I'm just gonna have to read it because I cannot adopt a new.
You don't have to read Song of Susanna. It's not good. Anyways.
No. Oh, I read that one. That's fine after that.
I don't know what I will do if Michael Kramer stops reading Sanderson's books.
The only other thing that I think could be interesting of the ones I've added in. So I said everyone is a cleric in the sense that, like, that's more of a group.
Can you deselect the text, please?
Yeah, it's harder.
Yeah, so, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was doing that.
Very rude.
I definitely do not mean that we have to do this. I just thought there's something that's interesting about the idea of, like, if we have these like shared identities, that there's something that connects you to the ability to do the thing that you do, and if you renounce it, then you're literally cut off from it, right?
Like
it's not
everyone's
just
a paladin fundamentally.
Yeah, paladin, not cleric, is what I meant. Well, I guess it could be both, but like,
that's true.
Anyways, the other one I think is interesting is because we've just talked about a brand new strain of magic or power technology. I think it'd be great for some people to have like this faith reaction where some people see it as like a blasphemy, whereas other people are like, this is the new age, right? Like, it's not just that the planar elves, if that's what we're calling them, are like, hey, we exist. It's that like other people who are in the existing society, some of them reject it outright, being like, this is a sign of the end times, whereas other people are like, I can get fucking powerful or rich based off of this if I embrace it. So this kind of polarization of that new stuff I think is interesting politically.
I think it's very cool. Yeah.
But otherwise, shapeshifters I think is cool. But otherwise, there are other stuff is just flavor text. I'm not married to any of the other stuff.
Is number 7 you, Greg?
Nope. No,
No,
just
yeah,
the
that's
bullet
that's
points
just one I
afterwards.
Oh, so
Oh wait, no, sorry.
you have Warring
Sorry, I
States on
did.
there twice.
No,
That's
I
probably
did
funny.
add. I had added that previously. I forgot to delete it from the original list. That was me. I added that.
Hey,
again.
Greg,
So, yeah,
Warring States is already
That's
on
for
here.
me.
It's number 1.
Oh, well, there you go.
So like the list starts with Warring States, so maybe we could get rid of that one. I think would be good.
Yeah.
You've highlighted Anthony, so
Could you click out of it, Anthony?
I did. I'm no longer clicked in. I jacked out
Ew.
of the Matrix. I'm fine with
delete
any of these.
mine. Sure.
Yours was
I had more
smaller.
text.
Sure.
Yeah. What else? What else?
Greg,
what do other
Greg
people
told
care?
us what Warring States period means to
I
him.
see.
Well, but also I
personal
specifically
level.
called out like nomadic clans of warlords as opposed to just like these people are at war. It's not like
The Jengises of the world.
yeah. Everybody plays Jenga. Anybody else have thoughts on politics? I'm just kind of hearing what you guys want to play with as ideas.
I like the Warring States idea.
I like all of these. I don't feel like any of these would be offensive to me.
Mm-hmm.
We're not politicians when we play this game, so this is kind of.
Haha, you misunderstood what my character is going to be.
Wait a
I do-
minute,
I do
Michael.
like
Can we do a political drama?
Yes, Ace
I-
Attorney.
Yeah, it's funny. There is a what's it called? Burning Wheel. There is an RPG that is like hailed for that kind of stuff because it has literally like mechanics for like court-based like political combat.
Objection.
Basically,
exactly.
Yeah, no, you can do like an Ace Attorney in it, but
Hell yeah.
it seems like a lot.
All right.
I like
Cool.
all these. I mean, we wouldn't include all of them. I think that
No.
if we have a couple of groups, then they're all going to probably organize society differently. So none of these really feel that different from each other.
Yeah.
I think I like all these. I like the shapeshifter one a lot. I think the seers and the cleric ideas are interesting.
Renaissance isn't also really a political ideology, or
I would say the Renaissance is in a sense of powerful, either noble or wealthy families. You know what I mean? It's kind of more of a mixed
Patronization.
a patronage state. Yeah, it's kind of how I would think of that.
But also like open to new ideas, right? It is not a
Yeah.
we must keep things the same. It is a openness and like reinvention.
I also like one of the things I would love with the idea of like if you had us one of the societies was in more of a Renaissance era. I like when you could flip things. Like I feel like we think of things like people who live in a cave would be like ignorant, and people who live in like a sky island would be, very erudite or wise. But I love flipping it in a sense where it's like, the islands could be like very.
They've been stuck up there with no
stuck up
resources.
there, no resources,
and
no
very little
reference.
oxygen.
And then the people like in a cave, it's like are really open to like improving things through technology. I like doing stuff. I like doing stuff like that, which could flip it.
Right.
But like all of those could fit together then, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I'll think on that. But and we'll see what kind of emerges as we keep talking. Cool. So let me just double check my notes. But I think this is going well. I think we're kind of ready to maybe start talking about icons.
I'll be
If
right
you
back.
guys are.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. So again, for the listeners, for people not familiar with 13th Age, icons are the movers and the shapers of the world. I mentioned earlier there are three types of icons. Icons who have kind of been around forever. Age-defining icons who are highly contextual to their time and place, defining their age, if you will. And icons who are cyclical or recurring. I don't know if any of these will matter a lot for what we're doing. And the reason I say that is like, for what we have is we've kind of set up a world where there's, potentially like, three or four icons out the gate. Like in terms of like these like three kingdoms we've kind of talked about, these, sort of weapon-based societies. Maybe the elves, the planar elves, and probably a couple more. And I want to leave it open to each of you to kind of like take ownership of this, but I kind of still want us to like talk together, because like if we're all talking about our, if someone's introducing their idea for an icon, I think it's important for us to start thinking about, oh, my icon would be probably against yours, or would be like aligned with yours, or I think that's,
Yeah, I mean. Sorry, question for you as the GM, because I want to get your thoughts. Are you saying, are we going to have 12 icons, even if
No.
there's only 3 warring states?
each of you is going to I want each of you to take ownership of an icon, and then I have given myself 3 icon slots.
But I guess
That's
my
what it
question
said
is,
in the book.
are we okay having more icons than there are territories that are at war? Like, I guess my question is, like, how do we
I
want to
don't-
organize the
the
relationship
thing.
between them?
I don't want to make more icons than we need, because it just complicates it. I think we could spitball some other players in the world as an idea, but I want to start with a focus on like who are going to be the big characters in this campaign. Because even like in our Emeria campaign, like we weren't bringing in all of the icons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not really that useful, and it's better rather than having like in Imeria or even the base 13th Age, which they do talk about, is like you should really focus in on like these are the ones who are going to be the most important. These are going to be more tertiary maybe, and like you don't have to pay attention to the other ones.
So do we want to just spitball some ideas now then, or
Yes.
and then establish if they're like eternal, age-defining?
Yeah, I
recurring,
think so.
whatever?
I did have icon ideas section, which is more sticky notes, and
Yep.
this is meant to be just an area where we can just go buck wild.
Yeah, I've got 2, so I'll write them down and I can kind of explain what I'm thinking.
Sword country should probably have a king or a queen. Hell yeah.
Axe country. Welcome to Axe country.
Welcome to Axe country.
Wait, sorry. Led by a giant. Or,
Question mark?
Or
Snake.
Or giant
or
test.
prepubescent.
Prepubescent.
What?
Prepubescent giant.
I can't spell.
Prebuscent.
Prepubescent boy. Cool. To be fair, and actually one thing to think about too is if these three kingdoms, technically, an icon can be like a group, so it could be like the three kings or something like that. You know what I mean? Could be
that's
technically
true.
like an
Yeah,
icon.
that's true. That's cool. I actually like that idea. That's an interesting lens if you want to add that.
Would it be each kingdom has its own icon, or would it be they would all be one icon?
Well, it's like the triumvirate is one icon of like there should always be three kings or three regions.
Pretty sure I had a triumvirate in Nymeria too.
You did.
They were technically allies, but yeah.
So one thing that I thought could be interesting is a moral mercenary group. So the idea being that they are a for hire group that acts as a counterbalance whenever a political group gets too powerful. So they exist to make sure the status quo continues. So they like are uncorruptible by people as being like, hey, join me and we'll take over together. They would exist as saying, because you have tried to pay me to do that, I will join the others to fight against you to keep everything in check. So this idea that there is a check and balance, like whether it's military or whatever it is, but there's an icon that's like so just and neutrally just that it is almost problematic sometimes because it's like
have you played Mass Effect? Because
Nope.
there is a well, I'm not gonna spoil anything. Mass Effect is a good game. You should play it. Good,
yeah, well, that's what everybody tells me. So anyways, I think that could be
also
interesting
long.
as well.
They are long. It's a BioWare game.
The other thing that I had thought of as an option is what I would call the corruption. And so think of it as I was thinking this is more like cyclical, kind of like Ganondorf, but the idea that being like every age or every couple of ages there is an ushering in of whether it's something like a cataclysm or a plague or a new ideology, or there is something that comes in and resets everything again. And it always starts at its nadir, but as the age continues, more and more people believe, like think of it kind of like Y2K fever. So it's this idea of like, oh no, there will be this culling, but because so many people believe it, it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's like the thing that ends the mark of an age, and then it's a start of a new age. And it always is ushered in as like a restoring of a balance on a cosmic scale. So I guess that
I mean,
the corruption
to be fair,
and
both the mercies could be one and the same, but yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying is that they're almost like balancing. Both of them are balancing acts, but kind of in a different way. I think one of them is more cosmic and like faith based, and one of them is more like pay us to make sure that there's no one political faction that ever gets ahead. So those were the two ideas I had, but yeah, I want to hear kind of what everyone else is thinking. What is this?
So, so I guess I do appreciate those, Greg. I know that you kind of came up with those before we came up, and the one thing I would like is like I would love to think about what would those look like in the context of all the stuff we just talked about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so I actually the mercenary one is one I just came up with. That is one in relation to we were just talking about. Maybe we don't have that many political factions or groups. They all are tied to an identity. So how do you maintain a balance, right? How do you maintain or at least before this planar thing comes up, maybe that used to be what kept the balance in but now there's this new entrant, right? I'm just more putting the idea out there of like these are interesting ideas more so than like they have to fit in this world. So it's more like what we see.
Greg,
as-
we've already passed the weird wish list of weird and whimsical and wacky ideas, so you can
Well,
keep those to
shit.
yourself. No, I'm kidding.
Yep.
I do like that. I do like there is a man, I want to talk about Mass Effect a lot now, but the idea of like these status quo or culling events are an interesting narrative.
You must
Cool.
respect the status quo, Earth Clan.
There you go. But yeah.
All right, I'll talk about mine now.
Yes, please.
I also came up with all three of these before the game, but I just came up with the names. My idea for the Demon Sire is that we've got these extraplanar, could be the elves, could be another faction that come from another plane. But along with them came something that is also spewing evil out into the world. And that would color people's perception of these extraplanar entities who might not mean any ill will.
Sorry, which one was that one?
That was the Demon Sire.
Do you mind putting more info? Like, you just told us a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't help if the sticky note doesn't have it. So I appreciate fleshing out the sticky note. Yes, I like that. Okay.
I thought of the Sky Warden as the leader of the Sky Islands. That one's not complicated. I'm not married to that one. And then the leader of the elves or the extraplanar entities would be the Empress.
Okay. I think these all make sense. I'm kind of one of the things that's kind of emerging for me is like I like the Demon Slayer. I do think that if we did have these extraplanar elves, or we can think more on what exactly how they identify or their cis culture. But yes, I do think there should be something bad should come with them. I agree with this. I like the idea that even something we were talking about just a little bit ago, I said I like the Griff King. When we were talking about when I mentioned that I love the idea of flipping things the people in the cave are maybe more open-minded and the people in the Sky Islands are actually maybe closed-minded. But it would kind of be an interesting thing if people in the Sky Island were a little fervent in status quo, and something like that could be tied to that sort of place too. You know what I mean? And they're we don't want you things to change. Jack's Alpha.
Now that's narrow casting.
Yeah, and no one watching this stream would know about that.
No, that
that's
is.
just we recorded we record a lot of things. We're we'll release this someday, and then we don't. And so if we ever release a Blaze in the Dark, cyberpunk adventure, keep an eye out for Jack's Alpha, because one of the greatest characters in RPG history.
Completely agree.
We just gotta start putting Jack's Alpha in everything.
I don't know if I completely agree with that one, but that was I haven't laughed that hard in a long time.
He's like Ganondorf. He just comes back every 100 years.
He's a cyclical icon.
He's a cyclical icon. He comes back to peddle protein shakes and fake martial arts.
Multi-level marketing. How many Skywardens we got here, guys?
I don't know. The cousin.
Okay.
Oh,
Are we removing Sword Country? It was up here before.
Yeah, I filed them underneath the
Okay, sorry.
rule of 3. It's just that's where the border
Yeah,
is.
I feel like the The spear country should be democratically elected.
Bold of you to assume there's going to be a spear country and not a gun country.
Gun
Here's
country.
gun country.
That one is a map of Florida.
It's Florida on
literally
its side, so it
shaped
just
like a
looks like a
gun.
gun. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow, I can't freaking spell today.
Okay. I like that there's technically icon ideas, and instead, just written about the countries, which is fine.
That's my fault.
Excuse me, I added the Grift King. I think it would be cool to have a like the icon that represents the rogues and like grifters and like political manipulation and like stuff like that.
Yep. I think that is a great idea. I would not call them the Grift King, but I do agree that
that's the idea.
A patron saint of thieves, so to speak.
Fine,
Thieves
the
and
politician.
A 13th god, even.
Yes, these are all good things, good jokes and good references.
Haha.
You can all be very proud. Pat on the head.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So like. I'm just gonna... Ne'er-do-wells, maybe. How do you spell ne'er-do-well?
Neer.
Is there apostrophe N apostrophe?
I think technically.
Yeah, I think so.
I never used ne'er-do-well because
It is.
it's just not in my lexicon.
Jack's Alpha is.
The Jack's Alphas of the world.
What if instead of the faceless, like, I just because it seems kind of
Hey, you could
close
just
to-
make. You can just put another sticky note on there. That's just an idea.
No. I'm not. I'm just saying it because it. Yeah, I'll add another. I just meant like, I want there to be a representation of the shapeshifters. I just for the name itself, it's close to the Game of Thrones.
The Faceless
Faceless.
Man.
One.
Yes.
So I was just saying maybe it's like the iridescent or like there's something else that's like similar idea, but just maybe we try to rebrand it into
The
something.
iridescent is pretty freaking cool.
They're multifaceted.
Hey,
Okay.
Yeah, you can just get
Michael, did you come up with any yourself that you were?
I came up with the faceless, but no.
Michael, are you gonna pull your weight on this, or is this gonna be just us?
No, I just want to make sure we're all getting a
Well,
word in.
my main thing is I want you guys to kind of get stuff in, and like I don't have like I can add as many as I want. So I think the important thing is kind of
That's fair.
find out which ones you kind of want to do, and like I can be like I need this one, and then I can just add it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll add one more then that maybe is interesting. I'm wondering if there's an icon. Let me add a sticky note. That's like the anima, like something that an icon of all living things that are not the human beings, right? Like bold of us to assume that there is only a representation of what we consider people, but like there are presumably other races or beings or intelligent creatures also in this world, kind of like how there's like dragonborn in D&D, I guess, but like maybe there's something there in this world too that you want to think of that fills out the world, but like there is a representation or there is a, again, I don't know if that fits neatly into what we've already established, but it would be interesting to me if there's like a separate entity that is representative as well of like the other magical, maybe non-magical, but just like the other living
You
beings.
mean like a god type figure that created all of the non-human animal type races?
Yeah, exactly.
So here's my thing: is that I think that's great. Do you think that the person who speaks the Lorax that you've just invented, who speaks for trees, is an icon of this setting? That's the question. You know what I mean?
I was also just describing the
I know,
setting
you-
of Hebria.
Yes. Yes, yeah, I know you were.
Yeah, or like
I wanted to make a Lorax joke.
Yeah, I
beast
didn't know.
folk
Greg
or whatever.
did or not.
No, but I mean, again, this is, I think, for everybody to like. This is not. I'm not trying to dictate it should be there. I'm saying this is an alternate facet we haven't looked at yet of what else is in this world. So is it worth having that represented? In my mind, I guess this is my question for you, Michael. Are you imagining that icons are what created everything?
No,
or are
icons
icons
are-
created
specifically
by
are not-
society?
Icons aren't gods; they're just the movers and shapers. They could be like an immortal entity, like a Lich King or something. Like that could
Right.
be an
Okay,
icon,
okay.
someone that is godlike in their power. But they don't have to be gods. That has never
Gotcha,
been
okay.
the case.
Then I'm okay. I'm okay removing it. Then I guess I'm thinking of this maybe too top down as opposed to like become a myth or become a legend.
Right,
Or
and
something.
I mean that's the thing is you don't really generally in 13th Age you don't engage directly with an icon. Like usually they're kind of like more removed. I think because we're making like a tighter setting that maybe not like maybe they're a little more accessible, but it's still the idea like these are people who are kind of like things are organized about what they want, right? Like their goals are what are driving conflict and change, right? So
Yeah.
you know it's like if one of your icons is those elves, you know, it's like or the Empress in this case, the leader of the elves, like is it what she wants and is driving for her people, like that dictates what the elves do, right?
Yeah.
Or
If you think
or
about
like, like Benjamin Franklin would be an icon in our world, you know,
Yes.
I mean in the 1800s,
In early America, yeah.
1700s.
So yeah, and even so, like in Nymeria, like the worm has like an influence as driving forces. You know, the warlock was driving negative influences, but then there was also like the wizard and the witch who had their own goals and were pushing things, right? Like they're not gods; they're just very powerful, very influential beings. That's interesting. Who just Greg? Was that you? The purity?
I just
you want
threw
to talk
that
about?
in there. Yeah, I mean, I was just saying, what if there was a figure that is so powerful because death rites or being the remembrance or whatever you want to call it, there was like a separate entity that is in charge of the way that we care for the dead or that care for the passage of time or something, and that is seen as its own almost sacred entity, separate from warring states or separate from political allegiance. It's like once you die, you return to the fold of this world or whatever, and like there's a person in charge of that sending off.
So again, I think my challenge is like that's a cool figure. That figure could exist in the world. Is that person an icon? What is their goal? Like, what are their goals that that would be influencing these other people? You know what I mean? That's what's like.
They
I
have
think,
a faction.
think about.
that they
Yeah,
lead.
what would the faction be? What would that kind of stuff draw? Because it's like that's
Yeah.
where you get like the icons are different. Like all even too in this like the iridescent, like the shapeshifters, like I don't know if that's a good icon because it's like if it's a sort of a more niche group kind of thing, it's like that's interesting. There can be a big figure there, but they're not necessarily the person who's doing like they might be like a more of a tertiary like influencing figure.
Unless
right?
unless the shapeshifters as a faction have like a united goal that they're
Right.
trying to accomplish in the world, and
Right.
the iridescent is the one that is
Exactly.
kind of managing that.
So like the idea of the icon is like we're basically electing like you are going to be a driver, and like the things that are that icon's goals are going to be a main source of conflict. So it's like I love the creativity, Greg. It's just like that's what I'm getting a little challenged with, like the idea of like the purity. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
that's
sure.
really cool. I don't quite like I'm just curious. What I'm just challenging is like, how do you see that being like a driving force in this?
Yeah,
space?
I guess I'm still thinking of icons in the way we've historically looked at things as opposed to like, which is fine. I mean, I think I can make up reasons, but I don't want to make up reasons just to make them up. Like I think there's ways it could fit in there. But
Well, but this exercise is you get to make an icon. So what my challenge to you is we've just we figured out this sort of play setting together, and I want you to come up with an icon. Like this is someone who I think makes sense in this space, who I'm interested in exploring and connecting with, and developing a faction for, right? So it's like my challenge, I guess, to you is like if you think like I think this makes a lot of sense. Like what I want us to do is in conversation say like I think this fits really well with what we've done in this way, and I think it's important to include it.
Sure.
Like you know what I mean? That's what I'm asking for, right?
Sure.
Which is not necessarily easy, and we haven't done this before, like you said. It's like a little. Mostly, what we've done with icons is right. Like I or Anthony similarly have like just made these big players and say like, okay, well you see how you fit in, and what I'm asking you in this case is, write a major character fundamentally, which and maybe this won't work. I don't even know, but I just think that's what I'd like to see, because I think then this conversation is when we can try to build the actual conflict of this space, right?
I came up with the Empress because I knew that I was going to follow that bitch to the end.
Do you want her to be an empress specifically, Anthony, or do you want do you have a vision for elf society?
What do you mean? What are you asking here?
Well, because it's okay. You have the empress. So are the elves these mage punk elves we've kind of defined? Is that how you're seeing them? Do they have an empress, or like who's the empress? I guess is what I'm asking you. Like what's up with that? And what's she doing? What's she want to do?
So I believe she would be. I think they would where they came from would have been an empire, and so that's sort of a holdover title. And what she wants is to create. Ooh, that's even better. I love that. What she wants to do is create a new nation for her people in this new world.
So she's a conqueror, a breaker of chains.
The unburnt, the unbroken. Yeah.
What if we connect the iridescent and the demon sire so that the shapeshifters is what came with the elves? Because it seeds distrust in the already existing political structure.
I dig that.
I like that. I think that's a lot of cool interplay.
I like that a lot.
It's to me it's weird to have in world building again, like to have just like shapeshifters as a
faction.
Yeah, like why are they? How do we know about them? I mean, we're making the world, but like, if they're not noticeable and they're perfect shapeshifters, how do we ever discover that they exist in a way that
kill one, they bleed purple?
But still, I don't know. It's I like the idea that they're extraplanar beings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like that. Yeah, the Empress, the leading elves, maybe being driven out by the demon sire, and they're trying to find a new place in this world. So she's trying to find a place for her people. I love the idea of the demon sire. There's maybe demons, magical entities, and that includes shapeshifters who maybe are viewed as like sort of a demonic race. That's cool.
And the iridescent could be the rebrand for this new setting. But they know him as the demon sire.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I was thinking that the iridescent might be like someone connected to the demon sire, but that's true. They could be the same person. Okay. So I guess here's maybe at this point, like, do people feel drawn to any of these specific ones in a way that like they feel like, oh, I'd want a character pulling from this? That's
I said what I said.
Yes, I know Anthony is very Anthony's
Easy.
narrow casting. Yeah. But like Greg, like you've thrown out a lot of cool ideas. Are you really interested in building a character that's connected to like a corruption or like a just character, like a counter those mercenary characters, or with the Grift King?
Yeah, I think I could find something. I think I could find something that fits within the kind of the just mercenary world of some.
What if Greg switches to being a Jax Alpha main?
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, I think I had an idea I'm not gonna. Well, I mean, we'll get into it in a minute. But I had an idea for a type of character that I think could fit could fit the narrative of the just balancing act, like icon. Yeah, I think there, and that could be a player, right? Like there could be a head of that kind of force.
I'm not trying to like force you into anyone's, but I'm like I think you throw a lot of ideas out, and that's why I'm asking like what are you drawn towards in terms of it? So if that's something you want to play as or you're excited to, then yeah.
Yeah, so I think the thing that I struggle with is reframing tonight away from let's spaghetti on the wall, put a bunch of ideas, and then all as a group pick what ideas we like versus fleshing out more of the world in this first session. Now that we're headed further down that path, I think the just mercenary faction, if that's what you want to call it, I could definitely make a character that fits that that is interesting. It's not just like I need to pick something. Yeah, like
and
it fits
I guess
I'm
like my point is,
interested
I don't want you to have you don't need to have like a perfect thing, but it's
No.
really, I mean, yeah, the difficult part, right, is like the 13th age flows from the icons, right? So for me it was like, okay, let's throw some big picture stuff, let's narrow it in a little bit, let's try to think of some icons, but the whole goal obviously is we're trying to funnel our way into a character.
Yeah, I have a pretty good idea of something that could fit within that. Yes.
Okay.
That was also where I was leaning towards.
Okay.
Which works well for...
And that's... The only problem would be... it's totally fine if you want to both make characters that are connected to it. I would just... I want you to both have like an icon you're fleshing out, theoretically. It's the only tricky part. It's okay if you both want to.
I mean, I can lean towards something else. I just thought that was... I thought we wanted to have similar icons, so we would...
Joe's icon that he fleshes out doesn't need to be the one that his character is connected to.
That is true.
That's also true.
But I want to still make sure that's right. Like I want it to be important. So the idea in the Book of Ages is like, oh, you get to pick your icon, and that's gonna be your character's number one seed fundamentally, and it's you're gonna have icon relationships with multiple icons, so it's fine. Like you can, you know what I mean, like you could both be like, someone could be like literally like I'm fervent, I agree with this the just mercenary group, and the other person could be like, oh, the just mercenary group killed my entire family, you know, like those are both directly connected.
Yeah, but that makes it hard to have a cohesive party.
Or it's inter-party tension. But yes, you're right.
But that seems like, I don't know.
No, you're right. That's kind of what I'm saying though. And this is sort of the uncharted territory. You know, like obviously, like, yeah, like we could just do this and like take all these ideas and I could say like, this is what I'd like to play with, and then have you guys do it. And like, if that's how we want to do it, that's fine. I can do that. I do want to give you guys, like, I do like the idea of you guys having more say, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I guess, you know, we are kind of nearing towards the end of our usual play sessions. Like, what would be helpful? What would be useful as like a direction or next steps? I guess. Do you think?
Map.
A map. Okay. But it's hard to come up with the map if you don't have, you know, it's chicken and egg a little bit. But I do, if people like what we came up with, the biomes and stuff, I can try to figure something out map wise.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. Do we want to figure out what our party is gonna, like, at least like a rough idea of how our party is gonna go together?
Sure.
What do you mean by that?
I mean,
classes.
We don't want to, well, classes, but also like, I think we should try to avoid everyone.
Oops, all barbarians.
No. Like, oops, all main characters. Not even that, but like, we want we want to avoid being ragtag group of adventurers, you know?
Yes.
I think maybe
your question isn't about ragtagging out, but like what your question is, like, do we want to kind of pick like what is the like sort of a driving force for like why we are all together and
Yes.
on this journey together,
Yes.
potentially.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I think it would be a good thing for us as players to, you know, all be from the same town, or, you know, all have gone to the same, I mean, you know, gone to the same college idea, you know?
Yeah, I
Maybe. I don't
do
know.
hear you saying. The only thing is like I'm hesitant on is like I think you can do good stories like we're all from the same town, but like if you think about big adventures, maybe if like one or two people are from like the start, but it's like usually it's like, you know, having the different perspectives lets you bring in more things, right? So like
That's
if
true.
you're all just like we're all sword country folk, then it's like, well, okay, but that's, you know,
Our
if
party
Anthony
is
wants to play,
also only 3 people.
it's
So
true.
it's not like we have huge differing opinions if we're all from different nations or backgrounds.
And that's also, again, my goal of having a smaller world is that you guys aren't so far apart inherently, right? To have a world like this where it's kind of on top of itself, I mean, literally, maybe in how we're building it, like, you know, if you guys are just from sort of like, you know, the kingdom over from each other, it's not that weird, right?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I do agree with you. Like, I want to make sure, like, yes, it's always very important, and something I think can be a struggle is to like find out like why are we together, and but I don't think it has to be a limit on like you're all from the same place. Is my only caveat to that.
Yeah, and that was just like an example, but like with Imeria, like I had some problems. Like we went the second arc, we went somewhere where Log would not go, and I had to just
And that was,
you know, which was my fault, but
no, but it was hard for me to find a really good motivator for you all as well, like and a reason for you all to stick together. So this is something I would like to avoid too.
Here's where I'm personally struggling.
Mhm.
Okay, I might be like projecting. I get the feeling that we're continuously refining a point into a narrative that is like, okay, we're going to have 3 warring states. The 3 warring states are vertically oriented, and now we have a 4th state that's come in. I want the 3 of you to be of each one of these states that are based on an icon and figure out. Now, I'm not saying that's what you're saying. What I'm saying is that feels like what the discussion has become. So what I need in terms of clarity is, are we saying, okay, one of us has to be a swords folk, one of us has to be a whatever, and then build our characters?
And that's why I was very specific that like we don't even need all 3 of those kingdoms to have a single icon. It could be like, let's like the rule of 3. Like it could be like the 3 main leaders are the icon of there. You know what I mean? That's why I was trying to break that up a little bit.
yeah,
potentially
and I moved them underneath like this.
Right,
I
which I appreciate.
I agree. You know, these are just like descriptions of each ruler,
right?
But like, you know, they are.
And that's right. That's what I was trying to say, Greg. I was like, I'm not saying no to your stuff because you're throwing the other stuff out there. It's like I'm just like, how did those fit or accent into the stuff we've already done? That's what I was asking and challenging. Like, if you want to be the Just, like that's great. Where do they fit? If you want to be the Griff King, where does it fit? If you want to be under, you know, like the Sovereign of the Sand or the Purity, like if you want to be one of those things, like I'm down. Just like help me figure out where that fits.
Okay.
And you can add to it. You can expand it. It's just like that's what I'm asking, because it's like I think the worst outcome would be like we've put all this setting and it's like, and I want to play this character who we have nothing that doesn't fit anywhere, and it's fine. I want you to do that work for me.
Okay. So in that case, I have a pretty strong feeling and idea for both a character and a narrative that I think works within this world that involves the Just / mercenary group. But Joe, I know you also said that you were leaning towards that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's better if we both do that, you know?
That's okay.
Sure. So the way that I'm thinking about a character that I think could make sense adds some color and history to this kind of rule of three warring states thing.
Mm.
I like to imagine that the just mercenary group are made up of a former city-state that are exiled from the rule of three as the counterweight. So either from a political decision or they went to war and lost, but they're a stateless people that exist to help the three stay in power as a counterbalance. And so this adds tension because the characters themselves are like, this is the highest purpose of my people, but are also displaced because they don't have one of these three regions, but they're constantly keeping it in balance.
So they're Mandalorians.
And so, an idea that I had for a character, which I was calling like the Exiled, is a almost like paladin or a cleric kind of thing that's devotion to ultimate balance and justice means that they are there constantly being hired or being put into situations where they are sometimes violently so keeping the peace, but they're struggling with the idea of like, but I have this whole history and my people have this whole history where we've been thrown into this like position of making everyone else stay balanced. And they're seen that way as almost like a tarnished or like something that was previously,
Al tarnished.
But basically, whether from physical characteristics or the magic that they use or whatever it is, they are both seen as and exalted as like, oh, thank God we have this group that helps us make sure that no one gets too powerful, and yet always seen as like, yeah, but your ancestors did something
right.
Yeah, your ancestors have always done something terrible. So I think that's the narrative or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like the way that I'd think about it is like they used to be a fourth state, but it's much easier to keep balance between three than it is between four. And so like these are the remnants of that fourth state that are now this like for hire keep the peace.
Yeah,
between.
I like that.
I have an idea for a character that fits within that. But Joe, that's my vision for that icon or like that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to like dictate how you relate to that. But that's just the idea I've been having for this.
Yeah, and I'm not like super sold on it either. Because I gotta think. I mean, my goal is to play a big dumb barbarian. So it could either be, you know, a member of the warring states who is like, fuck this, I'm out, and I'm gonna travel with this person, who will teach me something or whatever. Or I could be, work for the Sky Warden or the ruler of the Desert Lands. Like, I don't really.
Or under the rule of three, you could be one of the axe, I guess.
Yeah, also true.
I thought you were just making one of the icons is Greg.
Greg, the icon. Greg is truly
Well,
iconic.
So here's maybe an idea then for like how this all fits. And again, I'm kind of testing this, but what if a, let's call it loose diplomatic party gets sent to the planar new entry whatever? We don't all have to be from different factions. We could be from the same, or we could be from one of these factions, whatever. But like, it's essentially this cohort that has been put together that's like, so this new power has just suddenly appeared. We need you to either be diplomats or spies or mercenaries or saboteurs or all of the above, because we're worried about what the fuck that's going to do to our current balance in the world, and you are the part of a group that has been sent to deal with that or investigate it or parlay with this group. And it's like early days in that, like,
Greg, if you think I'm not already part of that higher power, that extra planar power, you are kidding yourself.
No, but that's what I'm saying is
No. I
That
appreciate
goes
the
both
pitfalling
ways,
too, though.
right?
Yeah.
Like you could receive, you could be a noble family that receives the diplomats from, right, like soft power, right, receives, or hard power if you're militaristic, like receives the diplomatic force that are, this force might all be like, yeah, we kind of don't all want to kill each other, but maybe there's a huge political influence on all sides. It's like, maybe we all
So,
kind of want to kill each other and
can I-
steal whatever. So,
let me-
I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
What if
Let me-
there's
let me-
tadpoles in your brains?
Let me go
Yeah.
off that. So there's the rule of three, there's the exiled, there's the elves. All factions, like something happens. You know, there's an explosion or something, you know, something happens that all kingdoms need to explore. Find out what happens, whatever. It's like either the corruption or the demon sire arrive or whatever. So we're all members of that group, along with a sword person and a spear person and there's other members. We start session 1 in media res, half our party dies. Like
That's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
and then we have to go back to the elves, the sword, the axe, the spear,
Yeah,
and
I
be
think
like
the only
be like,
tricky part.
knock this shit off. We have this bigger problem to worry about.
So just to highlight two tricky things with, I mean, I do like these ideas. The two tricky things is that with Greg and both of your choices, like the diplomatic force, is that I don't know who would send their level 1 character to do something, but at the same time, like, you are more powerful as a 13th age level 1 character, so I'll give you that. The other thing too is that if you were all like different groups exploring, like from a different group exploring something, it becomes harder to justify why you'd all stay together potentially. But those are potential things we work on, just things to keep in mind. We also don't, I mean, again, we don't really know who you are. I do like these ideas. I do like this potential seeding. But I do think that, like, I think we have some more work to do trying to kind of like narrow in a little bit more with the icons. I mean, I think we have like some cool, very cool lists here. I like a lot of these. I think would fit really well.
I mean,
And
another
honestly,
option. I get. I'm just flipping things on their, like, on its head just for the sake of perspective.
Mhm.
Are we interested, or is it interesting if we all play characters from this planar force that get thrust into a new? So that
Just like
unites
the
us
elves with me.
for a reason, and it's like, oh fuck, we are now seen as whatever, like, people who are instigating conflict. They are wary of us. There's 3 different states that are already in some kind of perpetual conflict, whatever, and like the mission is very much survive or like overtake if you want to, but like that gives us a reason to care, because it's like, well, we can't uncouple ourselves now from this world. We don't even know why it happened. But instead of thinking of it as like, what do we do about the 4th group? It's like, what if we are the 4th group? And so
I like that.
so that's an option.
Well,
I
and
mean,
from within that too, like, we've already established that, like, there are elves, like demon folks, so probably tieflings, there are shapeshifters. There's a lot of characters potentially from it. So the only, again, and I've thought about this too, is like I always do love you're in a foreign inhospitable land kind of thing, but the only thing that's tricky is then if you don't have grounding to the setting, it's harder for you
Yeah.
to connect the character.
yeah, sure.
That's the only part that it can get tricky. That's what I mean.
That would be the only reason that I wouldn't want to set the story like right when the thing happens, or like in the very near aftermath.
But yeah, I mean, the idea that you guys are all, if you always wanted to be like, we're from the plane and like we are seeking out something to help our people, like close the rift, or heal the scar or something. You know what I mean? Like that.
What if
there's something like, yeah.
What if the rift takes people in waves? So like there have already been multiple, like it's like a rapture almost. So like there have already been multiple raptures, and like, we're from a mage punk society, like we could probably figure out at least loosely, like, well, these people are alive, and they went somewhere, and then we would be grounded in that, like, well, my brother got raptured, and the second rapture or whatever, and then they would be kind of in the world already, and the like the
That's
fallen
cool,
empress, like, maybe came on the first,
Yeah.
I dig that.
because then it would be like we would get the new people to a new land, but like it is at least a little familiar, like
Right.
our
There's some footing. Right.
and the elves know that it's gonna happen to some amount of people at some point,
Taking
so
orientation.
I mean, probably, it would at least cover it in school, we could figure out how many people go every time, but like it's just like a totally random, one day there's a clap and you're in this world,
Yeah. I think it's a very cool idea, Joe. So it is 11:05. I think what I'm getting at is I do think I'm gonna have to sit and try to kind of like condense some stuff and maybe make like a half-baked, like, so try to put this. I mean, our page here is pretty good, but I do think maybe try to bring it together and like identify some gaps. But I think we're gonna have to probably sit down and do this again,
That's fine.
for better or worse. So maybe we're gonna probably call it for tonight and wrap up this stream, and see you everyone in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
We'll do a quick Rose of Thorns again.